Can you do, can you do me a favor? Can you look in the camera and say like, comment, and subscribe?
Like, comment.
Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. So
Oh.
to my grandson's channel. Say
Oh.
like, comment, and subscribe to my grandson's channel.
Like, comment, and subscribe to my grandson's channel.
You heard it. Okay, so welcome back to If I Knew Then. Today we have my cousin, Deanna Tropea. She is the Regional Regulatory Affairs Manager at a large healthcare organization in New Jersey. Thank you for doing this today, Deanna. I appreciate it. Before we get started, can I turn it over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your career background, please?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share my story here. So, I actually am a physical therapist by background.
Okay.
So, I've been a PT for about maybe 12-ish years now. I started working in the neuro rehabilitation space, and I was there for about 10 years. So, during that time, was fortunate enough to be able to grow my career and step outside of my clinical role by taking advantage of some opportunities at that time. Specifically, working with the Parkinson's patient population, I was able to start an inpatient Parkinson's rehabilitation program, and that gave me some insight into the regulatory space and the quality world, working with organizations such as Joint Commission to obtain certification for that program. And eventually I stepped into some leadership roles as a PT and was given the ability to cross-train into a director position for quality and risk management. From there, I was able to take my skill set to where I am now, which is in the regulatory space as a regulatory affairs manager for a larger hospital. And I know that was a lot, but
No,
that's kind
okay.
of my story into where I am now.
So that's good. I feel like a lot of people in our family have moved from clinical roles into admin roles. So I don't want to jump ahead or anything, but I'm curious. Did you envision that you wanted to move into the admin space, or did that just kind of pop as you progressed, you found joy in certain things and you saw opportunities and you just kind of followed where that went? I'm curious.
Yeah, so interestingly, back when I was in grad school for PT, I never thought, like I was thinking, okay, this is my career. I'm going to be a PT and this is what I'm going to do. And a few of my professors actually told me, especially if you are in the inpatient rehab world, it's very physically demanding on your body. And they said you may want to have a backup in mind, for as you get older, as you feel that wear and tear. And I never knew where that would take me. I knew in the back of my head, okay, I have to be prepared for that transition at some point, but it happened a lot sooner than I expected. And it was a result of taking advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves to me early on in my career.
Okay. So you always saw this as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I'm curious, I think I know the answer to this, but do you think starting as a PT and moving into admin or into leadership roles or into the role you're in now, which is maybe a slightly different offshoot from where you were previously, do you think it's almost a prerequisite, or do you think it helps inform your space a bit more? Or do you think, I'm not articulating this question right, but I'm curious because it's the same thing. Like I just interviewed an old colleague of mine who is now an adjunct professor at a bunch of different schools. And he says that this time he spent in corporate has completely influenced the way he teaches. And I'm curious around starting in the PT space. Do you find yourself better at your role now?
Yes, absolutely. And I will also say it's rare. It's becoming more common, but it's pretty rare for someone in the therapy space to move into administration outside of their department or, their discipline. And I'm excited to see that's becoming more common. Typically those roles, go to physicians or nurses. So it was a big deal for me to step out of my discipline. But I will say I learned a lot about empathy. I learned the patient side of things. I had the perspective of how patients are affected by the decisions that are made, how our team members could be affected by the decisions that are made. I think having that experience firsthand, being a clinician helped me be better in my roles going.
I like that. Do you find yourself gravitating more towards the administrator side, or do you find yourself taking the opportunity to step in a bit more? Or step in is wrong because I know it's hard to just revert back to clinical work, but I'm curious around, do you find yourself trying to get more involved in opportunities that would bring you closer back to that? Or do you really like where you are now and have solely focused on the administration piece?
I honestly love where I am now.
Okay.
I do miss it to an extent, but something I always tell this to people when they ask me this question. As a PT, I was impacting one patient at a time, one person at a time. But in my current role, my impact is so widespread and my reach is so widespread. And I just feel as though I have an even larger impact. So that's the good I see in it.
No, I love that. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so that's great. So you went to school for PT, you started in PT. Can you talk us through a little bit about like your next step where you said you had an opportunity to move into administration after that? Can you tell us a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, so I gained a lot of quality regulatory experience through developing this Parkinson's rehabilitation program at the time. And I learned a lot. In the clinical world, your schedule's made for you. You're going, in PT at least, you're going hour by hour, person to person. You're pretty regimented. But I was able to take some skills, office skills, I guess I can say as a clinician, it was kind of foreign to us, right? Things that other disciplines may know just entering into their career. And I learned that piece, even interdisciplinary collaboration, working with other administrators through that program, understanding the regulations at that level that I did. And once I accomplished getting that program certified, and then I was kind of like hungry for more. I was like, I loved doing this. Like I'm making such an impact by doing this. What can that next piece be? And in the back of my mind, I was like, I want to be involved in quality and risk management. Now, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know I want to do this. So I was kind of like, let me just enjoy where I'm at. Let me take in as much information as I can. I participated on a bunch of different hospital committees at that time to give me more experience outside of, my day to day. And then this is pretty serendipitous, but a cross training opportunity opened up. And I loved that my company at the time offered this for a few areas. I was able to train with that director. And then quite some time after that, when that director retired, I was able to then, apply and move into that position where I gained a whole world of knowledge. So I was then able to fine tune that into from here. There's an umbrella of things that I'm doing, I'm learning, I'm seeing, but what do I want to do from here? And I was able to pick that regulatory piece, step into where I am now eventually, just focus on that regulatory component.
Oh, that's great. It's funny. You're my cousin, so it's a little different than me doing these interviews with other people, but I knew of your career changes at the time, but I didn't
Mhm.
know in depth like this. So it's interesting to hear this. Let me, before you talk about your current role, I'm very curious about that. But when you were in that role, it was exactly what you wanted. So you just said, I wanted to get in the quality and risk management space. You took advantage of an opportunity there in cross training, and then you secured the role by applying to it when it opened up. That's perfect. What made you at that point? Was that something was it what you wanted?
Yeah, so at the time it was.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
yeah, I learned a ton. I gained so much knowledge. I met a lot of people and I loved the team I was working with. And I was, at that point I was like, okay, I want to continue growing, but I want to fine tune this now. Like I'm kind of doing A, B, and C, and I really want to focus on A.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. All right. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you about
Yeah.
to say more?
No, that's okay.
No, okay. Okay, so that's really cool. And then that's helpful for me too. So looking at that as you got this director role was in a broad management, and you actually like the idea of being more niche
Hmm.
in something within this space, and
Yes.
so that made you target your current role. How did this opportunity come about?
So there is a little gap in there.
Okay, okay,
So in my mind, I knew, okay, regulatory, that's where I want to focus on. But before I get there, I felt I needed a change into a larger organization.
okay,
So I worked in inpatient rehab, which is a hospital setting, but it's smaller compared to, the larger acute care hospitals that we see. And there's different service lines that aren't offered in rehab. So I wanted exposure to that as well. So I kind of took a step back to then take a step forward.
okay,
So I took a step back. I became a quality specialist at a larger organization. And then from there, I was actually the regulatory lead on that team. So I got to step into that a little more and lean into that. But from there, this opportunity opened up to step into a regional regulatory role. So again, I feel like it's another just touch of serendipity added there. It just happened to be the right place, the right time, and it was a
but
great opportunity.
And I'm not suggesting that you're downplaying this, but I do think
Yeah.
I think there's something to say about you taking advantage of these opportunities. Like you put yourself into a position to succeed, and these opportunities came up, and you were the right person for those opportunities. Yes, there's a mix of the opportunity has to be there, but you had to take advantage of it. So it's really cool to hear this story. I'm glad that we're doing this.
Yeah. And thanks for giving me credit because I wasn't giving myself enough credit. But yeah.
Yeah, but I do the same thing. It's very easy to do it for someone else than it is to do for yourself. So, okay. So then you take that leap, that makes total sense. And all of this too it's not linear, but all of these moves make sense. So now after that, is that when you land in this role? And how long have you been in this role?
It will be 2 years in March.
2 years in March. Okay. So can you talk us through, as someone who has no idea what this is,
Yes.
give me a little bit of high level, like the pitch of what your role is currently.
Yes. So there are requirements developed by CMS, the Center for Medicaid, Medicare Services, that healthcare organizations must meet to participate in federally funded healthcare.
Okay.
Organizations use an independent body to evaluate if they meet those specific quality and safety standards that include those conditions of participation and standards. My role is to provide oversight to the sites. Part of my role is to provide oversight to the sites to ensure that they are meeting those requirements and standards.
Okay. So that makes sense. So then you mentioned that that's just one part of your role. Can you expand on a bit more of what the rest of it is?
I would say that's pretty much like the overarching premise, right? We want to
Okay.
ensure the patient and quality standards. But I can talk a little bit about what I do love about it,
Okay.
and that
Yeah.
might not be as implied. So, although I am in a leadership position, I will say I'm not a direct leader in terms of, I have a team that reports to me. I am in an indirect leadership position, which I think is challenging, but also rewarding just the same. So, I really love that I'm able to collaborate with peers at each of the sites that I work with, and I'm able to, learn from them and explore some takeaways and opportunities that I can bring, you know, amongst the group. And
That's cool. Do you have the opportunity to, I understand your role as in like translating the requirements, making sure that your
Mhm.
facilities or the networks or the hospital itself meets the requirements. Do you ever have the opportunity to influence upward too? Like around, I'm sure it's easier for much larger networks, but I'm just curious around, is there opportunities to share feedback on some of these regulatory requirements?
Yeah. So, a benefit to having, that independent accrediting body is that we're able to, work, not necessarily work with other organizations, but we're put in touch with others. And there's similar advisory
Committees?
organizations
Sure.
and committees that connect us throughout the nation. So we can run ideas, thoughts, about policies, about how to achieve compliance in one thing or another. So that forum definitely exists. And I think that's been a point of growth for me as well, because again, I'm a PT, but I'm not going to limit myself to that. So I'm able to connect and converse with nurses, physicians, other people outside of clinical roles who are, subject matter experts in their area. I think it's important to just, take away as much information as I can from them.
Did you ever consider that as next? Is that something that interests you to maybe be a part of those advisory committees or forums or whomever, where you're influencing these changes versus implementing them?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's more of like a long-term type of thing.
Okay.
Like I know a lot of the people that we do work with, they are kind of like at the near the end of their careers and they're taking their knowledge and sharing it. But it's not an immediate thought. Like I'm still kind of
Okay.
I'm just where I'm at and I'm soaking in as much as I can at the current
That's
moment.
great. And
Yeah.
I can tell how much you enjoy it too.
hmm
Can you give me, again, as someone who has no clue about this work, can you give me a little bit around like what a typical day looks like?
So there is no typical day-to-day structure, which is what I love about it.
Okay.
We kind of have to be on our toes. One day, I can have my week planned out and know, okay, here's what we're going to focus on this week. Here's how we're going to prepare. I'm going to go walk and talk and go through some prep activities at some locations. And then a survey can happen and then we have to kind of stop what we're doing and respond. So I do actually enjoy that. I enjoy the autonomy. Just from a general place of like career perspective, I do enjoy having autonomy in my schedule. And I say that because it's such a shift from clinical work. And from when I was a PT, I had hour by hour by hour laid out. And when I shifted, I was like, wow, this is another world. It added another layer of responsibility, but it definitely was a pro to me.
Okay, that's great. Okay, shifting gears a little bit, now moving on to the namesake of this, if I knew then. So I always frame it as, what is one piece of advice that you would either give your younger self or someone maybe earlier in their career looking to follow in your footsteps, or maybe someone who's just looking to do something different that you wish you had earlier on in your career?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question. And I was thinking about this leading up to our recording.
Okay.
I did struggle with this. I would say the one piece of advice I would give is to take advantage of the opportunities that you can. So often enough, I'm asked, from my friends who are, still in the clinical world, how do we, shift? How do we get out, change careers or take what we're doing and advance it? And my biggest feedback is, join any committees that you can, connect with administrators, network, um, just kind of step outside of what you're doing in any way that you can to gain experience. But I do have a second thing. And this is something that I kind of learned later on in my career. And it was a former director of mine actually would say, we have to understand that things come in waves. So you can't give like 100% of yourself to 100% of everything at your life at one given time, right? Like there's only one you. So there are times when you're going to be work focused and you're going to put in that extra effort, and there are times when you may need to be more family focused or, other responsibilities come up in your life. And I think applying that and finding work-life balance has helped me a ton. So I do wish I would have learned that at a younger age. But at the same time, thinking about that also, I feel makes me a better leader because now I understand, how important it is for everyone to have that balance and to commit to what they can when they can.
I love that. That's really good perspective. It's also the right time for you too, then. I mean, as
Yes.
a mom now, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the right time to figure that out because you don't want to lose these moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be in a place where I'm passionate about what I do and I have the opportunity to, be present, as a mom as well.
I feel the same way. We were talking about prior to recording, we were talking about pickup schedules and drop off schedules. And I feel I am super passionate about the work I do, but I feel extremely grateful that I'm in a position that I can do those things and be there with my kids. This is going to sound bitter. Maybe bitter is the wrong word, but you mentioned there are certain times where you could give 100% of yourself to work, 100% of yourself to family. I think about that a lot. And I've interviewed a lot of people here, and like I've got to interview Nonna and Nonno. I've gotten to interview my grandmom on my mom's side, my great aunt and uncle, people that I've worked with who are already retired or close to retirement. They rarely ever focus on their career achievements when you talk to them, and it's a really cool perspective. But what you mentioned about giving 100% of the effort, I was recently having a conversation about this where, like, if you look at LeBron, for instance, I know this is going to
Yeah.
sound crazy. He's played on Christmas Day every single day of his career. His son is in the NBA now, and he never spent a Christmas Day with him. Now,
Right.
I know that some people would trade off for millions of dollars and to be in LeBron's spot, they would do that. But I honestly, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I would not be able to trade something like that to be able
Right.
to do that. And without that perspective, it's very easy to be hard on yourself to say like, oh, I could be doing more here. I could be more successful here. But the truth is that you're right. You only have so much time, and how much you put towards the things that are important to you, that matters. So I think that that's an amazing, if I knew then, I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. So this is a really cool conversation. I'm glad we got to do this. Before I let you go, what's next for you? You talked about you're happy where you are now. I'm curious, do
Yeah.
you have any next goals set up, or what are you looking to do next?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say this might be more of a personal versus
Sure.
career goal.
Yeah.
So, in a personal sense, I am looking to get involved in more advocacy work.
Okay.
specific to, maternal health. I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I have a toolbox, I have a skill set, and I want to apply it to something for the greater good, outside of, my career driven goals. But I really do think I can make an impact. Again, I'm trying to find the time, but when that wave comes, I'm ready to take it on and pursue that.
Love it. Thank you very much for doing this. Anything else you want to share or plug before I let you go?
No, thank you for having me. This is my first podcast, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you for doing this. I really like the conversation too. Like I said, I know your career history. Like we've talked when you've gotten promotions and when you've gotten career changes, but it's really cool to hear the background, the detail I haven't heard before. So thank you very much for doing this and sharing it. I really appreciate it. And I'll let you go.
All right, thank you.